I am going to go ahead and call the meeting to order the Town of Delavan and City of Elkhorn Joint Extraterritorial Zoning Committee meeting for Thursday, November 2nd, 2023. The time is 5:15 p.m. Do we have a quorum?
Yes, we do.
Do we need a roll call, Sherry?
Yes, we should.
Okay, go ahead.
Stocko,
Here.
Wetke,
Here.
Nipper,
Here.
Newenhouse,
Here.
Mulch, Boardman.
Okay, I will move on. Could we have a motion and action to name a chairperson tonight?
I make a motion, Tom Stocko. I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Tom, I will let you take it from here.
Okay. So we're going to open into a public hearing for conditional use permit for marine service and boat storage. Steve Smith, North Shore Development, LLC, 5384 Highway 11, Elkhorn, Wisconsin, 53121. Tax key FD 200002. FD 20004C, Town of Delavan. Is there anybody here that would like to speak? Second.
Sorry, has there been a motion actually to adjourn the public hearing?
No.
I should say convene the public hearing? Okay.
I make a motion to close for public hearing.
Open.
I'll second. All in
Motion
favor?
carried.
So I
All in favor?
don't have to ask for people to speak.
All in favor?
Aye. We're
Any
closing-
opposed?
It's closed.
We're closing the meeting for
Okay.
the public, to open for the public hearing.
Okay.
Is there anybody who needs to speak once? Second time, is there anybody here who would like to say something? Third time? Public hearing's closed. Now we will discuss recommendations. Smith conditional use permit approval.
Yeah, Allison, could you maybe just kind of give us a quick summary of where we're at?
Absolutely. Thank you. So tonight you have before you an applicant that is requesting a conditional use permit for boat storage and off-season storage, as well as continue their ongoing business that was established in 2001, providing marine service and boat storage. So the current property owner has been on site for the past 22 years. It was brought to the city's attention that the business operating had never received any city or township approval. And so the applicant is here before you tonight in efforts and an attempt to come into full compliance with our current ETZ code. He's requesting a conditional use to continue those business operations. And in addition to that, he would also like to improve the site and further develop the site so that he can grow his business. So you do have a concept plan review before you tonight for additional storage buildings, additional parking, so that he can go ahead and expand that business, as well as an installation of all proper stormwater systems. So the town of Delavan has already met on this, and you will see in my staff report and an email from the town clerk that they did recommend approval with a list of conditions. I have those conditions listed in my staff report for you as well. But if anybody has any questions, please let me know.
Allison, I do just have a couple of questions, and more just for purposes of clarifying the conditions so that going forward, we're all on the same page. There was
Sure.
language that said that outdoor storage is limited to 70 boats, but then it's reduced by 15 for each building that's constructed, right?
Yes,
So are we effectively saying, because I think you're asking for up to 5 buildings, right?
Yes.
So just so we're clear here, effectively, doing the math here, if you get 5 buildings, that puts you at 75 boats that would be in. So effectively, there would be no more outdoor storage of boats when that 5th building is built out? Is that-
correct.
Not
And that was a condition. That was a condition that was made by the town of Delavan. And of course, that's certainly open for discussion tonight. If anybody felt that that condition needed to be altered at all, that can be done tonight if the committee wishes.
Yeah, I obviously don't have a position on either way. I just wanted to make sure that there wasn't any confusion down the line. So that's the way I'm reading it, that once you have 5 buildings, that would put you at potentially 75 boats inside those buildings, and that would leave no more outdoor storage. Is that your understanding as well?
When you say outdoor storage, that means
Just boats?
boats off-season storage.
Correct.
Outside. But during the season, boats will be outside because they'll be coming and going. They're not stored there, they're being serviced.
Right. I mean, the condition deals specifically with the storage of boats, so presumably that's contemplating off-season?
Right, they'll be inside.
Okay, so once you have enough, the idea is once you have enough building capacity for all the boats, they're all going to be kept inside?
Yes, in the wintertime.
Okay. That was one of the questions I had, just for clarification.
Sure. So maybe if the committee felt inclined, we could just clarify that in if a motion was to be made on any of these conditions of approval, maybe we could clarify the off-season storage versus the short-term or temporary storage of boats that are coming and going for servicing purposes only. And to me, off season, kind of for if we're talking about boats, ranges anywhere from October to, boats tend to come out of the water around October, maybe a little sooner, maybe a little later. And then they go back in the water April, May. And so I don't know if the committee feels inclined to, add any timeframes in based upon off season versus in season.
I don't. Well, I think it, depending on the weather, has a little effect. So if you just throw a month in there, that's kind of difficult to do that because sometimes people are going to be on the water into November if it's warm enough. Not like it is now,
Yeah.
but if we put a month restriction on it, it's kind of difficult. But the off season kind of gives leeway both ways.
I agree.
I would be interested in defining short-term, long-term, so rather than in months. Mr. Smith has explained to us that obviously when someone brings a boat in for repairs and work, they bring their trailer, they bring whatever, and it waits to get its time to go into a building for repair. When it's done, it's placed back outside to make room for another until the client picks it up. And that, I think, is more what we're concerned about, is that movement continues at all times. And I think it would be helpful to define short-term that would work for us to understand with clarity what Mr. Smith is expected to do. And long-term is defined as a different fee. They take the boat, store it for a period of time, just to storage. It's not to be anything else. And that should be more long-term, and then you could try to define that. But I think that's one of the concerns, that we won't find ourselves sliding into something that's a little
Well-
mixed up.
But also, we're talking about when he gets the 5th building built.
Mhm.
And I don't know the exact plan, but to me, that's gonna be a ways down the road where that 5th building's gonna be built.
It could be within 2 years.
But it also could be longer.
No, it won't be
No?
longer.
Well, that's, you know, the first couple years is gonna be a problem too, because he can have X amount of boats outside, cause he's only got one building up.
Right.
You know, and it's, to me, it's hard to legislate that. You know,
I agree, and I'm just, since we've used the term short-term, long-term, it'd be helpful to understand what conditions are taking place for one versus the other. Two different intentions to have these materials on site.
right,
Yeah.
okay.
Because also on the short term, he could have one boat that it's gonna take a while, parts to, you know, whatever, so it's not like 3 days, I'm done, move that one out, move it in. I mean,
Sure.
he could be working on one for, a month.
Oh, yeah, well, if there's a blown motor and you're waiting for a motor to come in, yeah.
Yeah, so try and put a time thing on either one of them.
One of the comments I recall, on August 30th, after Mr. Smith had come before the town in the very start, this had gone on for a while concerning about what was stored on site at that time. And after that appearance, we agreed with Mr. Smith that a select group of people from the Town of Delavan Plan Commission would go on site so that we could see for ourselves, we could bring that map and we'd really get a feel for it and see. And we did do that on August 30th. And I think both two of you attended, and it was very helpful to see that. And knowing what you're just commenting, where they move back and forth, they can be in very different stages. If you were to do a site visit, it might look different because you wouldn't know anything. I made a suggestion at the time, and I still think it might help Mr. Smith, and it might make being on site, knowing what's there, is color-coded. You know, there could be something he could use that's a tag on that, with the trailer and the boat maybe, that says, you know, those that are in for repairs have this color or something like that. And when they're on long-term storage, there'll always be that. You know, something like that, that would tell us very quickly, easily, without no disturbance, what is outside. Because that is a concern about outside storage.
Yeah, and that was actually what prompted my question, because the way the language reads now, it just says, the outdoor storage of boats is limited to 70, and I don't want to have a situation where we're counting it one way and you're counting it another way, and now there's a problem.
Yeah.
So I think it's just worthwhile to clarify what the intent is. Are we saying up to 70 boats that are being stored during the off-season, shall we say? And there's no limit in terms of boats that are in there repairing? Or is there a separate number?
Well, basically, the way the system works is like right now, if you came out to the place, you'd see there's a few boats out there, but most of them have been put away. And there's about 20 boats for people have to pick up, which would be this weekend. And if I had a building built, all the other boats would be in the building. Just one building, because I do storage different sites right now. Eventually, I'm just moving all on one site, and when I get a boat out, the problem is right now is when I take boats out in the spring, I have to empty out a building and bring 50 boats back. And when I have a buildings up, I won't have to do it like that. I'll be able to take 5 out of here, stage them, and get them out the lot. You know, my whole intent and purpose is to clean the whole thing up so it's a much smoother operation, and having the boats come to one location and not have to haul back and forth makes it streamlined much better, where you know what you're taking out of the building to get them done. The thing is where they'll back up is when, like 2 weeks ago, when the weather started to change, everyone got scared and they're just like bringing them in. I had like 60 some boats sitting there, and you know, we put them all away and they're gone. But I don't look to see a massive amount of boats sitting there anymore once this building gets put up, because a lot of those boats that I inherited, because people don't pick them up, were always sitting outside. And I threw a lot away. I mean, I spent a lot of money hauling this stuff to the dump and at my expense, because they never came and picked them up. But for the most part, you're gonna have a very clean lot. The boats that are there are gonna make me money. They're not gonna sit there and be stored because there's no money in storage in the summertime.
So I'm hearing you saying that, or maybe correct me if I'm wrong. Are you saying that you don't think it's likely you're ever going to have more than 70 boats being stored outside for any purpose?
I doubt it.
Okay, so that language, I mean, if it's,
I doubt it.
if that's like I said, I just want to make sure, my goal is just to make sure that there's clarity so that when it's enforced, we don't have concerns down the line.
I will never have 70 boats sitting outside storing off season at all.
Okay. So
Never.
because right now, that's kind of how I would read that. You're not allowed to have more than 70 boats being stored outside, and regardless of the reason.
Well, right now, there's stuff outside because I
Sure.
can't put it inside. I don't have a building.
Right,
Right now, if I put one building up, there wouldn't be anything outside.
okay.
A 60 by 200.
Anybody else got any questions or?
I would like to add one more condition. I would like, do you have a break room in your maintenance building where they do the work on the boats? For the employees, a break room or somewhere? I would like these conditions to be posted somewhere where the employees will see it. Otherwise, the employees will have no idea what the conditions of this conditional use are. So I would like to make them a condition S, that these conditions be posted on your property for your employees to be seen.
That's fine.
I was just gonna say that, from an enforcement perspective, the simpler and the clearer it is, the better. And so as legal counsel's asking about, is the limitation a strict hard number 70? I think the better it is. I mean, the clearer it is, and the less, trying to define it by season and the type of use and stuff like that from an enforcement perspective. If Allison or whoever from the city had to try and enforce it, be exceedingly difficult to do that. So just having a flat number for total would be probably the best. I mean,
Yeah.
just from an
Yeah, I
enforcement
agree with that.
perspective.
So if I understood you correctly, you're saying that 70 is a good, you're comfortable with that number, that you're not going to have more than 70 boats stored outside at any time.
Are you saying off-season or in-season?
This says 70 stored outside, period. Now, again, to get back to the earlier point that was raised, storage could mean different things. So I just want to, I think it's important that we make clear, what are we saying? Storage could mean being stored on the property during the winter season, or it could mean any boat that's being kept on the property for an extended period of time. So I think we should clarify what the intent is here.
I don't plan to store any boats outside in the wintertime, especially a customer's boat.
But if this language could be saying is essentially you're never going to have more than 70 boats being kept outside. And is that a number that you?
Are you talking in the summer too?
Yeah. Is that realistic? Because what's going to
In the
happen?
fall, yes, I could say that.
From
In
an
the spring,
enforcement, if we
no.
get a complaint from an
Right.
enforcement perspective, someone's going to have to go along there and start counting boats. And
Okay.
if they get to 75, they're going to say we have a problem.
Yeah.
But now it's.
Well, once the buildings are up, then it's easy to keep them inside.
Right.
But
right. It's
until
just the short term.
then, no. Like this next spring when they come out, there's going to be over 75 boats there at one time because I got to get them out and I have no place to put them.
But is that considered storage, though? Once he's moved them outside, they're being picked up. They're not being stored outside, so they're not being stored. It's
Well,
just-
that's the question, I guess. I mean, I just want to make sure that the conditions are as clear as we can make them, so that when it comes time to actually enforce them, we don't have to fight about what they may or may not mean.
Do you think that you could define it as like a long-term versus short-term? Like short-term storage is less than a month, that you'd have that within the season?
We could, and I think I think the point was a good one earlier, that it's kind of what the purpose is, right? I mean, is somebody paying you to store their boat, just to literally store it, or is somebody paying you to fix the boat and it just happens to be sitting out there while you're waiting to fix?
Every boat we store has a white tag on it. The date it went in, what we did to it, and who did the work, and his name on it. Those tags never change. They're always white. Work order tags are different. When a guy comes in and drops his fishing boat off with a 50 horse and says, "Here, tune it up," that's got a different tag on it. It's got a paper tag, kind of a non-deterrable piece of paper and it's tagged to the tongue with the guy's name on it and when it came in and the work order number.
And that would be for
Maintenance.
repairs or things that,
Repair,
okay.
right.
But from the city's perspective, anything that is sitting outside, resting outside is considered to be stored outside. It doesn't matter if it's a temporary or if you have a contract for somebody to store it, it's out, if you have items outside, that's storage. So again, you gotta make sure that whatever that number is what is gonna work for both you
And keeping in mind that the
city.
number is going to decrease as well as you
Right.
put up buildings. So every time, for each building you put up, that number is gonna go down by 15. So I don't want to put you in a position where you commit to a number and then the way we count it, you're over that. We're trying not to set you up, we don't want to set you up to fail.
Yeah, we're
So
basically,
to simplify things, Steve, do you have a number in mind that might be ideal for your busiest season? Take your busiest time of the year into consideration and how many boats you might have outside, even if it's for one day. But take that busiest day of your year. How many boats are you going to have outside? So if I happen to get a complaint on that day and I have to come out and you have 100 boats, but this approval is for 70 boats, then you would be in violation, even if it's for a day.
I don't foresee having 70 more than that there because I'm not gonna take work in I can't get done. If I got that many boats sitting there, you're not gonna get the work done, and they're gonna sit there a lot longer than that.
But
Okay,
that moment in spring that we just talked about though, when you said that
But once the buildings are up, I'm not gonna pull out 70 boats and park them out there and customers, in the spring, I don't take on any new work. I just take care of the customers that I have in storage. Once in a while, I'll take a straggler or whatever, but I'm not gonna sit there and promote my business, as I never have. You've never heard me advertise anywhere. I have enough business that I don't need to get more at all. It's rock solid. They've been with my customers for 35 years, maybe even longer. So I'll put the number at 70. It don't matter to me because as long as the buildings are built, if the buildings don't get built, you're not gonna. I'm not gonna try and get 100 boats in the yard because it'll be a mass confusion. Because as soon as you start putting a building up, I'm gonna have less boats I'm hauling anyway. So it's 70 boats would be a lot. I'd put it at that and leave it there and.
I mean, there is a possibility that if your circumstances change, you could petition for a change conditional use and the board could consider that again. But just so you're clear, so it sounds like 70 is a number you're comfortable with.
That's fine.
Okay.
I have one other question too. We keep saying boats, but am I right, Steve, that in the summer, when people are using their boats, they're at their lake or whatever, they bring after they launch the boat, they bring the trailers back to your property. Those trailers in the summer, the lot will be pretty full of empty trailers, correct?
Technically, I don't store trailers for people in the summer, except if they stored their boat with me in the winter. Then the
Okay.
trailer once the building got empty, that's why we have that one south or northwest corner there to put trailer storage. And once the building's emptied, the trailers can go inside. I don't want to be congested with trailers either. I want basically the open slots I have on that sheet there are for boats that we have to stage coming out of storage to get service to go out to the lake when they come back. Once one of the buildings is empty, the trailers are going back in the building. So,
That's what I was questioning.
Right.
That's the answer, because we keep saying boats, but I do know there'll be many times when everything out there in season is a trailer without a boat on it.
Yeah, and just to raise kind of the same concern that we just dealt with the boats. I mean, your site plan right now says 30 boat trailers. Is that a number that's,
yeah, I've gotten rid of a lot more. I probably got 30 there. There's some ones that are going to the scrapyard in the next week or two.
okay?
'Cause
Because
we
again,
kind
it's
of,
going to be the same, to pick up on Allison's scenario here, if she gets a complaint and she's got to go out there and count, she's going to be looking at her site plan saying, okay, 30 trailers, I see 35. So you're good with that number?
Good with that.
Okay.
Any other questions? So we just want to do it on the conditional use and then do the review of the comprehensive plan?
Yeah, we can take them separately. I mean, with respect to conditional use, I think there was a concern about another condition that you wanted to see raised. I think procedurally, what we would do is you would make a motion to add that condition, and then if you got a second, we would vote on that. And then there would be another vote to actually recommend these conditions, and then the next item would be on the site plan, which could be discussed separately, although it kind of got roped into this as it tends to be the case. So if you want to make your motion on that
Okay, I'll
condition.
make a motion that we add the condition S. The condition would be to post the conditions of the conditional use in a conspicuous place for employees to be able to see the conditions.
I'll second that.
And you'll provide me a list of all those that you, I mean, because it's changed a little bit. I mean, I wrote some down from the time before, but they all got altered at the
When you
meeting.
come to the
'Cause I never did
common
get a
council
copy of
meeting,
that.
you'll get a copy of those, I believe.
Yep.
Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yes, and Steve, you'll also, if everything gets approved, you'll receive your conditional use permit, which will have all of the conditions listed on it.
Okay, so we had a motion
So,
and a second to add that.
second, vote on, roll call?
Stacko,
Yes.
Watke,
Yes,
Nipper,
Yes.
Noonhouse,
Yes.
Okay, now we'll go into recommendations for the project concept review.
Well, actually, we need to vote on the conditional use as a whole now that
Oh.
we've added that one.
Anybody want to do a motion for,
make a motion to approve a conditional use permit.
second?
you want to do another roll?
Roll call.
Okay. Stacko,
Yes.
Watke,
Yes,
Nipper,
Yes.
Noonhouse,
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, you're up.
Now we can go
Yep.
into the project concept review.
Now theoretically, if anybody had any questions relating to this topic specifically that they didn't raise previously, they could bring them up now, but I think we kind of talked about the big picture here, I think, right? So then it's just a matter of making a motion.
Just a quick question. Hey, Allison, is there going to be any fencing around this project site? No.
That would be a question for the applicant.
Is that
Fencing?
Yeah, is there going to be
Fencing.
any fencing? I just was wondering.
the what?
Any fencing? Is there going to be any fencing around the facility at all?
The building right now?
Your facility,
The
the whole
site,
site, the whole
yeah.
yard.
There's nothing, I mean, there's something wrong with it now?
In the future,
is-
will you be putting up a fence?
Oh,
Fencing?
put a fence. Well, in certain parts I will, but in other parts it'll be a berm with like a Gordy's thing down there where you won't see where the retention pond is, and the dirt coming out of there is gonna be a berm, and then it'll be trees on top of it, so you won't see, from Highway 12, you won't see anything except maybe a building up in the air way in the back. On the roadside, if you drive through there now, you can't see anything because the trees are pretty dense, except one spot, and there's a piece of property there that just was sold that was Carl Huggies, and I've talked to him. I mean, he just bought it last week, and I'll put a fence, if he wants a fence around the place, I'm gonna do it, around his property line, or my property line. I'll put one there, but, and the guy next door, and, let me see if you can look in that. It's the guy on the north side there. He's got, his name is, Jeff, to the left there, right, left of your arrow right there. He wants to be able to use 30 feet of my land because he just wants to use it because he wants to cut the grass. And we have to discuss whether I put a fence there or not. He doesn't want me to put it on my lot line because then he can't have room, because the 30 feet is the setback, so At one time I said, I don't care, it don't bother me because I'm not gonna be using the property there. It's just, you can cut the grass, I don't care. Well, so, and then the lady to the, it'd be to the west now, they have to take the building off and they're encroaching on the property there. And, that and the shed, that piece has to come off, and I don't know if they have to take the whole shed down or not, but they at least have to take it off to the property line. And then I'll probably put a fence up there with a gate that we talked about when they were on site that one time, to close off anybody that wants to come in there at night. Right now, you can just drive through there. I will close it off, I know that, but.
Yes, that is listed as a condition, in the conditional use. So there will be a gate or a fence across that opening that will get closed after hours.
Right.
Any other questions?
Now, there would not be a fence on the east and west side of the buildings. On those buildings there that run way on the east side there would be no fence put on there.
So it'd just be a fence across this drive, is that correct?
It's trees.
Pardon me?
It would just be a fence across this drive right here?
The drive or, it'd be across the drive, but it'd be up further towards the house. Not his house, the other one, right up in the middle of the driveway there, because it's 50 feet wide there. It'd be up in there someplace so that somebody doesn't come in and park there. Then I'd probably continue going right around his property if he wants me to.
Otherwise, the only other fencing is
On the west side.
the west side right here, existing barbed wire fencing.
Yeah, that fence there is, and that's a drainage ditch back there, which I won't be utilizing. Everything will be routed to my own pond back there and then piped underground out to Highway 11.
This is the fencing that we talked about here, where he would have trees to cover it.
And then where the berm would be right on the southwest side of the, or south, just the south of the retention pond on an angle right there. That would be a berm there with, the trees would be planted up on top of the berm. The only storage buildings that'll be on this property will probably be the 4 60 by 200s. Well, the other one's 50 by 150, but the one in the front, it'd probably be developed into, it'd be on the south side, southwest side up there. You can't really hardly see it. It was just highlighted in there with, yeah, right there. The parking lot and everything right there for either future strip malls for somebody. It'll be a 60 by 150 building up there, and either break it up for a small business or I build a new shop up there, or I put the shop in the one that's 150 by 50 right there. That burnt down when Comfort owned it.
That's not currently covered underneath this application though, is that correct?
Pardon me?
Is that covered underneath this application though, Allison?
What is?
Doing any retail or within that area?
No, so anything like that would have to come back. Also, when it comes to the construction of these buildings, they will be done in phases, so each building will require a zoning permit and then applicable building permits. So, when the applicant comes in for his permits, I will verify the site plans that are submitted at that time, that they meet all requirements, setback requirements, size requirements, etc., before they go on to the town of Delavan building inspector.
Motion?
Make a motion to approve the project concept.
I'll second that motion.
Roll call?
Stacko,
Yes.
Watke,
Yes.
Nipper,
Yes.
Neuenhouse.
Yes.
So I guess we're adjourned? Motion to adjourn?
Sorry.
Some,
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
motion to adjourn.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Adjourn.